This crag is invincible, which is a state where a character cannot be damaged in any way, shown by a white overlay on the character's model. Intangibility is a very similar state. The main difference is whether hitboxes attempt to interact with your character. Intangibility even ignores hit stop, but neither state can take damage. These are extremely powerful states, and the devs know this. For this reason, they're given out sparingly, like as a reward for parrying a projectile. Another common source is the 89 frames of invincibility you're granted once you move from the Angel platform. Since your respawn invincibility is entirely uncontestable, the opponent has no reasonable option but to evade you temporarily, often pushing them to the ledge. However, the defender can force a sort of stalemate by countering your valuable respawn invincibility with the intangibility they're given for grabbing the ledge. But considering the ledge is always available, and intangibility is so powerful, how much of it could we reasonably expect them to get? Oh. Yes, at almost any given time, most characters can retreat to the ledge and be fully intangible for up to 108 frames by chaining together 3 ledge grabs. That is longer than the one-time use invincibility you get for respawning, not to mention that if you tack on one last ledge grab and buffer a standard getup or ledge roll, you can actually be intangible for up to 145 frames on demand. This might sound extreme, and frankly it is, but it's not limitless. Let's go over the specifics of the ledge and then discuss the strongest ways to use these properties. Each ledge grab begins with a non-actionable 7-frame animation that occupies the ledge. Until you touch the ground, your first 3 ledge hangs then grant 29 frames of intangibility. In this ledge hang, you have a handful of options, but the main one I'm really interested in for this video is ledge drop, which is actionable frame 1 and lets you use those 29 frames of intangibility with very few restrictions. For example, you can drop the ledge and then re-grab it just in time as your intangibility ends. I'll call this a refresh for the rest of the video, where you refresh your ledge intangibility right as it runs out. But back to these 29 frames of intangibility you get. If you ever become grounded and then actionable after receiving some ledge intangibility, the game generally removes it early, on the first frame you're actionable. But you do not lose your ledge intangibility earlier than frame 29 for any reason while midair. So you could put out this hitbox while fully intangible. This makes aerial from ledge very, very strong. If you have good fall speed and a useful forward extending aerial, this is probably the best ledge option in the game for your character. While this aspect of the ledge is already powerful and should probably be used more by many players, it's frankly not even the reason I wanted to make this video. The ledge was designed to serve as a brief respite for a recovering player, letting them catch their breath for half a second before fighting their way on stage. But in a lot of scenarios, it can actually do the exact opposite, providing even more obstacles for an offstage player due to the way it empowers the player in advantage. Let me show you why. Do you struggle to edgeguard Claren? It can feel like the ledge is just a pit stop for her to gain intangibility after throwing out a million gigantic up B hitboxes, but there's nothing stopping you from grabbing the ledge yourself while on stage. By taking ledge first, you can deny a ledge grab from the Claren and ignore her enormous up B hitboxes thanks to the intangibility you get. It might feel like you need a hard timing callout to do this because her up B lasts relatively long, but remember you can chain your ledge grabs together for much, much longer than her up B lasts. A simple example of how this might look is, grab ledge, refresh your intangibility twice, and then roll up. This leaves you intangible with no gaps for 109 frames, and blocks the ledge during your regrab animations, as well as during your roll. In practice, you'll want to adjust what you do based on the situation, but this is the basic game plan. And remember, you are fully intangible for 109 frames, so you can entirely disregard any Claren up B hitboxes from your decision making if you execute this right. All you need to watch for is if she's going to grab ledge. Let's go over some common mistakes that might come up when you try to use this, and then look at some real match examples to see why this is so strong, even against people who know that this is what we're going to do with the ledge. First, you should generally avoid adjusting your refresh timing once you grab the ledge initially. It can be tempting to hang on the ledge and then try to refresh right when you think the opponent is going to go to the ledge themselves, but all this does is slow down your refreshes to a point where you leave gaps in your intangibility, and you will get clipped by a recovery move. Use a consistent refresh timing regardless of the opponent's recovery, so you don't introduce any gaps in your intangibility. If you want to extend your intangibility but also actively hog the ledge, use a ledge roll which does both. But keep in mind, this will end your ledge coverage if you guess the timing wrong. Next, this sequence isn't very effective against an opponent with many recovery resources left. Although you threaten to punish a laggy up B, there's no reason for them to do that if they can sneak their way on stage with their flexible, limited resources like double jumps and air dodges. You'll get more mileage out of this when the opponent is low enough to be forced to use a laggy recovery move, hoping to clip you with big hitboxes, which you can ignore with your intangibility, and then punish after. Lastly, it's important to not begin refreshing on the ledge too early. If you do, even if the opponent has to up B to barely make it to ledge, they might be able to stall until your 3 intangible ledge hangs are exhausted, and time their recovery for when you've run out of intangibility. You should aim to start refreshing the ledge right as you think they'll use their recovery move. This does involve a bit of guesswork on your part, and this is indeed one of the more interactive parts of the situation. If you try to move to ledge particularly late in order to make the most of your ledge intangibility, you can get clipped by the opponent going for an early recovery. Finding the right timing to start refreshing requires good game sense and a slight read on your opponent. When you set this up right, you either get an immediate kill with a ledge hog, or you get an onstage punish with almost any combo starter you'd like. As the player in advantage, it is your job to determine whether you should hold the ledge or go for the hit on stage, because going for either one generally forfeits your ability to cover the other. One mechanic you should know to inform this decision is that characters cannot grab the ledge unless they're moving downward in this game. This is why some up Bs can be ended early by a ledge grab when moving downward, but not when moving upward. In the context of edge guarding, this means that for characters like Forsburn or Raster, who hover in place a bit at the peak of their recovery, you have slightly longer to react to where they'll end up, because they can't even threaten to grab the ledge for a little bit. So who in the cast can actually refresh the ledge like this? As of patch 1.5.5, the characters in green have what I would consider a strongly applicable ledge refresh, meaning they can chain together 3 ledge grabs with no gaps in their intangibility. Any characters in yellow or with an asterisk have some quirks that will be mentioned in a notes section at the end of the video. Characters in red do not have a feasible intangible ledge refresh, as far as I'm aware. Even if your character doesn't have a fully intangible refresh, you can still apply a lot of these principles if you time your first ledge grab precisely. You'll just have to leave yourself slightly vulnerable when you want to refresh your intangibility. And if you haven't actually used this before, I recommend practicing executing it while queuing for ranked. In the heat of the moment, it can be easy to hesitate or freeze up on the ledge, but the timing needs to be identical each time or you'll introduce gaps in your intangibility. So it's good to build muscle memory. For a standard double jump refresh, you can either jump high and fast fall back to ledge, or drop low and double jump back to ledge height. You can reasonably use either method, but you can pause here to see some minor pros and cons for both. Regardless of how you refresh, the opponent can try to steal the ledge from you, and you should absolutely be prepared for this situation. Having a backup plan is a real skill while trying to occupy the ledge, and even better is gaining a sense of which recovery timings threaten to take the ledge from you between your refreshes. Now let's go over some real examples of this. In this edgeguard, a smart pillar placement forces Sandstorm to burn resources, which pushes him low enough to be forced to up B. This nets Zeus a grounded down air on the up B lag, one of the best combo starters in the game.
I'll be straight up. They're coming out, they're setting up that pillar again to deter the recovery back. Down air coming on.
In this clip, I start refreshing the ledge too early. Because I suspect the Clarion player is going to stall off stage to outlast my intangibility, I haxdash in order to replenish my 3 refreshes, giving me enough time to wait out the recovery. If I didn't do this, this would be my 3rd refresh, and I wouldn't have any more refreshes at the time of Clarion's up B to go through it. Something Cake Assault does that gets him even more mileage out of this is using ledge intangibility to attack before the opponent lands, even while the opponent has active recovery hitboxes out. This means that even if he misses the strong back air hitbox, he sets up the edgeguard once again without giving any recovery resources back. And if your character has the privilege of a backward-facing combo starter like Crag back air or Lorena Nair, you can plow through entire recoveries with a combo starter and potentially set up into a kill. One last note I'll give is that you should avoid committing yourself to a sort of re-grabbing ledge mode at the cost of using your other tools. Sometimes it is worth it to go out and hit the opponent instead of restricting yourself to the space on the ledge. But if you use this intentionally, like when a runoff aerial just couldn't beat an up B hitbox, you can put some serious pressure on the opponent.
There it is, there's the ledge in there, abuse.